Good morning, and thank you for joining me here at our Real Bible Study. This is a Sunday edition. I want to thank you for joining me here, those of you of live, and those of you that will see the replay in the future. So we were reading, coming to the end of the Apostle Mattityahu, which you probably know as the Apostle Matthew. And we started about 5 weeks ago, approximately. And we took a look at from the birth of the Mashiach, the Messiah, his upbringing, and his ministry. And now we're winding down to where it comes to his death or crucifixion, as you would say. So we started reading this because one of the things I've always said is that you need to read the scriptures from the beginning, its fullness, understanding the beginning. So we have 4 more chapters that we're going to conclude and wrap up the apostles' writings. And we were on chapter 25. So if you would turn there to me, we'll get into it. So it reads, "Then the kingdom of the heavens shall be compared to 10 maidens, who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. Those who were foolish, having taken their lamps, took no oil with them, but the wise took oil in their containers with their lamps. Now while the bridegroom took time, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight a cry was heard, 'See, the bridegroom is coming. Go out and meet him.' Then all those maidens rose up and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, 'Give us of your oil, because our lamps are going out.' But the wise answered, saying, 'No, indeed, there would not be enough for us and you. Instead, go to those who sell and buy for yourselves.' And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast, and the door was shut. And later the other maidens also came, saying, 'Master, Master, open up for us.' But he answering said, 'Truly I say to you, I do not know you. Watch therefore, because you do not know the day nor the hour in which the Son of Man is coming.'" So that's verses 1 through 13. So right here the Messiah posed a parable of 10 maidens, or you probably call 10 virgins. 5 were prepared with oil and 5 without. So the parable, the meaning of this parable is about being prepared for the Mashiach when he arrives. So there's obviously going to be people that would be asleep, unaware of his coming, so they would not be ready. And there would be another group of people who are awake and would be ready, waiting for the Messiah. So this is a parable on not only being ready, but staying ready. It's very simple, yet it's very powerful. Most people are under the illusion that the world as we know it will continue forever, but that is not the case. The world as we know it will transition as the years go on. And those that know the signs to look out for, as the Messiah mentioned in chapter 24, which we read yesterday, what signs you should be looking for. You should not be in fear, but you should always be in prepared mode. So let's move on to verses 14. Speaking about the kingdom again, "For it is like a man going from home, who called his own servants and delivered his possessions to them. And to one he gave 5 talents, and to another 2, and to another 1, to each according to his own ability, and went from home. And he who had received the 5 talents went and worked with them, and made another 5 talents. So now he has 10. The one who had 5, he now has 10. In the same way, he, with the 2 also, he gained 2 more. So this one, the one who had 2, he now has 4. But he who had received the 1 went away and dug in the ground and hid the silver of his master. And after a long time, the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received 5 talents came and bought 5 other talents, saying, Master, you delivered me 5 talents. See, I have gained 5 more talents besides them. And his master said to him, Well done, good and trustworthy servants. You were trustworthy over a little. I shall set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. Then he who had received 2 talents came and said, Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. See, I have gained 2 more talents besides them. His master said to him, Well done, good and trustworthy servant. You were trustworthy over a little. I shall set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And the one who had received the 1 talent also came and said, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not scattered seed. And being afraid, I went and hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what is yours. And the master answering said to him, You wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown, and gather where I have not scattered seed. Then you should have put my silver with the bankers, and at my coming I would have received back my own plus interest. Therefore, take away the talent from him and give it to him that possesses 10 talents. For to everyone who possesses, more shall be given, and he shall have overflowing. But from him who does not possess, even what is he possesses shall be taken away. And throw this worthless servant out into utter darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So right here, the Messiah posed another parable, and it's speaking about the gifts that he gave individuals to bring fruit into his kingdom. So we can look at this several ways, but I want to look at it this particular way. You have given a gift by the Creator, and that gift, whatever that gift is, supposed to bring other individuals into the knowledge of the Most High, into his kingdom. So I was asked a question yesterday. When we go into the world or into the field to be a witness on the Messiah, what is the message? The message has always been very clear according to Scripture. It is about a kingdom that the Messiah is speaking about. And this kingdom is not currently here, but he does have witnesses that actually know him. Now, there's a lot of voices, a lot of religious institutions on earth, and everyone has an opinion about what this is. So the message of the Mashiach here has never been to go to heaven. It is to inherit the new kingdom, which would be on the earth, the new earth, the renewed earth, the Messianic kingdom, when the Messiah gathers both the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the other nations into the millennium kingdom. So he has always preached a kingdom. Hence the reason you won't find in our reading here of the apostle, you won't hear any doctrine of a religion. However, man has made this book one of the influential religions in the world. Today you have 2.5 billion people with 45,000 different denominations. But when we go to the very beginning, you understand that a covenant was created between a man by the name of Abraham. Genesis chapter 17. And the promises that was made to Abraham was to make his seed inherit a land or a kingdom in the future. So when we read all the prophets, they all say the exact same thing, that the Mashiach or the Messiah, when he comes, he's going to gather the remnants of the house of Israel and Judah and the other nations that follow the actual Messiah, the one in the scripture that I'm reading about, not the religion that you see propagated through media and otherwise with their pagan practices. I'm not talking about that. We're actually speaking about the actual Mashiach, the Messiah. So let's continue right here. So you have a gift that the Most High gave you, and you should use that gift to lead people to the actual Messiah. Like I mentioned yesterday, all religions fundamentally believe in a Messiah. They all do. From Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, they all have a Mashiach that they are waiting on. It's not coincidence. It was designed that way. So if we read the scriptures objectively and we understand who Abraham was and who Isaac was and who Jacob was, you understand when you read the scriptures, you will always hear the term, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. These are the only people that knew the Creator, and their descendants were to follow suit. So when we get to the very foundation of the scripture, it is not a religion, and unfortunately, man has twisted it to make it one. So let's continue. Verse 32. Verse 31. And when the Son of Man comes in his esteem, and all the set apart messengers with him, then he shall sit on the throne of his esteem. So this one is very important to read. And all nations shall be gathered before him, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd separates his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then the king shall say to those on his right hand, Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then the righteous shall answer him, saying, Master, when did we see you hungry, and we fed you, or thirsty, and gave you drink? And when did we see you a stranger, and took you in, or naked, and clothed you? And when did we see you sick, or in prison, and we came to you? And the king shall answer and say to them, Truly, I say to you, insofar as you do to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me. He shall then say to those on the left hand, Go away from me, accursed ones, into the everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his messengers. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not take me in. I was naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. Then they also shall answer him, saying, Master, when did we see you hungry, or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not serve you? Then he shall answer them, saying, Truly, I say to you, insofar as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me. and these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into everlasting life. So let's talk about it. So here it is, the Messiah. It says from verse 32, all nations shall be gathered. And again, like I mentioned, in this world, you are a descendant of Noah's sons, three sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. This is not taught in religious circles because for whatever reason, I can't give you the answer to that, but I know it's not taught because I was not taught this in religious circles. So, Ham was the progenitor of the dark races, according to Zondervan Bible Dictionary, but not the Negroes. He was not the progenitor, so the Negroes does not come from Ham. So Ham was the father of the dark races, which is Egypt. Do you know that Caucasians play Egyptians in the movies, correct? But yet it says that Ham is the progenitor of the dark races. So that's something to consider when you're watching these Christian content. Ethiopia, or Cush, Ham was the progenitor of the Cushites, the Canaanites, the Libyans, Put. These all were descendants of Ham. So you're either coming from, you're either a Hamite, a Shemite, or a Japhite. Japheth's descendants, Ashkenaz, when you look at these words, Ashkenaz are Europeans, Tubal Europeans as well. Ashkenaz would be from parts of Germany, Ukraine, Russia. So when you hear the word Ashkenaz, you're speaking European. Genesis chapter 10 tells us that these are the isles of the Gentiles, Japheth. Gentiles are from Japheth. So, all nations will be in front of the Messiah. And he's going to ask them, or he's going to tell them, I was hungry, thirsty, naked, in prison, sick, and you didn't visit me. And they would ask him, when were you all these things? And the Messiah answer was this, as much as you do unto these, the least of my brothers. So the Messiah is from a tribe called Yehuda or Judah. He's related to Dan, Asher, Ephraim, Manasseh. All the Israelites, they came from tribes, and these tribes in our modern world are associated to a group of people called the Negro. I like to have this book near because most people are not aware of the history behind the name. So the righteous now, they didn't know that the people that they were visiting in prison, notice who is in prison, most of the times, who was homeless, most of the times, that they were helping, unaware to them that they were helping the Messiah's relatives. Because this is what he says, my brothers, as much as you do to the least of these, my brothers. Because most people don't know, as far as history, what they call the black people. This is what they are called, an adjective. That's all they are, all over the world, wherever they're scattered. And they're called Afro whatever country they were sent, their ancestors were sent to. So the righteous, it says, they would not consider their skin color. They was not aware that they were being benevolent to those that is connected to the actual Messiah. And then he looks to the unrighteous now, because you know the unrighteous, they're going to see skin color, and that's how people in certain societies, they look at people by skin color. I saw many social experiments. There's one I saw recently on YouTube where two guys, a Caucasian guy playing blind and a real dark skin brother playing blind. And they were in public with their sticks, pretending to be blind. And every time the Caucasian guy would grab on a stranger, they would hold his hand and lead him. Now, mind you, these guys are not blind, but they're pretending to be blind. These people are on camera. They don't know that someone is watching them. And every time the dark-skinned brother, and I mean he was real dark, holds on a stranger hand, they would shove him off or push him away and just look at him like in disgust. And I watched that 15-second clip and I said, interesting. How people view other people based on what they look like. And this is what the scripture is saying here. That the righteous, they will do the right thing, not based on their prejudice or their social upbringing, but they will do the right thing because it is the right thing. But the unrighteous, they would do the wrong thing based on their social upbringing and their lack of discernment. Because these people here that we're reading, they did not discern that these people were connected to the Mashiach, the Messiah. This is why they asked him, when were you hungry? When were you thirsty and we didn't do it? We didn't give you anything to drink. When were you naked and we didn't clothe you? When were you in prison and we didn't visit? And he said, as much as you do unto the least of these, my brothers, you do unto me. Hence the reason people that practice a doctrine or belief called racism and claim to be a believer in a Messiah. Here's what he says here. Go away from me, accursed ones, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his messengers. So, right here, we see that there is a place for those that practice a belief in skin color superiority. They would not be in the kingdom, but they would know what got them to where they are. So let's continue. So we are on chapter 26. And it says here, and it came to be when Yahusha ended all these words, he said to his taught ones, you know that after 2 days, the Pesach takes place, and the Son of Man is to be delivered up to be impaled. The word Pesach here means Passover in Hebrew. So the Messiah knew that he was to be the Passover lamb. So this is what we had on Friday at my home here. We invited some guests to celebrate the Pesach or the Passover of the Messiah, because he said this, do ye in remembrance. This is what he said to do in remembrance of him. However, in Christianity, they remember his birthday, something that he did not say anywhere. So we're looking at the record here of the testimony of Mattityahu, the apostle, and we could not find anywhere in the scripture, because we're coming down to the last 3 chapters of the book, where he never said, remember my birthday, do this in remembrance of me. So Christianity as a religion as a whole, they do the total opposite of what the scriptures is instructed to do. So let's continue. So the Messiah says, in 2 days the Passover takes place, and the Son of Man is to be delivered up to be impaled. Then the chief priests and the scribes and the elders of the people came together at the court of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas, and plotted to seize Yahusha by trickery and kill him. But they said, not at the festival, lest there be an uproar among the people. And when Yahusha was in Beth Anya, at the house of Shimon the leper, a woman came to him having an alabaster flask of costly perfume, and she poured it on his head as he sat at the table. And when the taught ones saw it, they were much displeased, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this perfume could have been sold for much and given to the poor. However, when Yahusha noticed it, he said to them, why do you trouble the woman? For she has done a good work toward me. For you always have the poor with you, but me you do not have always. So right in verse 11, the Messiah says, the poor you will always have. And today you still have poor individuals. So he says, the poor you will always have, but the Son of Man you will not have always in your presence. Verses 12, for in pouring this perfume on my body, she did it for my burial. Truly I say to you, wherever this good news is proclaimed in all the world, what this woman has done shall be spoken of also to her remembrance. Then one of the 12, called Yehuda, or Judas from Iscariot, went to the chief priest and said, what would you give me to deliver him to you? And they counted out to him 30 pieces of silver. And from then on, he was seeking an occasion to deliver him up. And on the first day of unleavened bread, so this is Passover, the first day it begins, this is a feast, and the Messiah did all through the history of the Israelites, this is what they did. And the taught ones came to Yahusha saying, where do you wish us to prepare for you to eat the Passover? And he said, go into the city to a certain man and say to him, the teacher says, my time is near. I am to perform the Passover at your house with my taught ones. And the taught ones did as Yahusha had ordered them and prepared the Passover. And when the evening came, he sat down with the 12. And while they were eating, he said, truly I say to you, one of you shall deliver me up. And they were deeply grieved and began to say to him, each of them, Master, is it I? And answering said, he who has dipped his hand with me in the dish, he shall deliver me up. Verse 24, indeed the Son of Man goes as it has been written concerning him. But woe to the man by whom the Son of Man is delivered up. It would have been good for that man if he had not been born. And Judas, he who delivered him up, answering said, Rabbi, is it I? He said to him, you have said it. And as they were eating, Yahusha took bread, and having blessed, broke, and gave it to the taught ones, and said, take, eat, this is my body. And taking the cup, and giving thanks, he gave it to them, saying, drink from it, all of you, for this is my blood, that of the renewed covenant, which is shed for many for the forgiveness of sins. But I say to you, I shall certainly not drink of the fruit of the vine from now on till that day, when I drink it anew with you in the kingdom of my Father. So the Messiah is saying, I would not have Passover or drink of this wine again with you until the renewed kingdom, till we are in the kingdom of my Father. So all through here, when you read the scripture, you realize in the religion of Christianity, it's a different entity apart from what this actually is saying. So Passover is very foreign to many people that are in the denomination, whether it be Catholicism or the Protestants. They don't have this concept because it has been hidden from their understanding as to what this actually means. So if you're entering into the new kingdom that Christians hope to get into, they have no concept of the Passover because of the religion of Christianity. Now, when I say Christianity, know this: Christianity is not synonymous with the scriptures. If you look at the word itself, it is not found anywhere in the books, neither the prophets nor the apostles. So when we end this particular teaching, I'm going to get into the history where Christianity started, what it is actually, and how to avoid its pitfalls, because everyone is not going to end up in the kingdom. No matter how sincere they believe is, they would not. It doesn't work that way. When we read the Messiah, he says this, and I make it very clear, and I like to expound on it. Narrow is the way that leads to life, and few be on it that finds it. But broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there be on it. So he told his disciples, the narrow way, press into the narrow way, because it is difficult. Yes, it is. The broad way is not difficult. All you got to do is believe in someone who you have not seen, and let's do what everyone else is doing. Very easy. There's nothing. You could just conform to the world system and believe that, you're going to enter into the kingdom. But it doesn't work that way. And that's according to Scripture. Verse 30, and having sung a song, they went out to the Mount of Olives. Then Yahushua said to them, all of you shall stumble in me this night, for it has been written, I shall strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered. So the Messiah is quoting from the prophet Zechariah chapter 13 verse 7. It was prophesied that the shepherd, Yahushua, will be scattered. After the flocks will be scattered, or his disciples will be scattered after they struck down the shepherd. But after I have been raised, I shall go before you in Galilee. And Kepha, also known as Peter, answering said to him, even if all stumble in you, I shall never stumble. So this was Peter's big boast. Yahushua said to him, truly I say to you, that this night before the cock crows, you shall deny me 3 times. Kepha said to him, even if I have to die with you, I shall not deny you. All the taught ones said the same too. Then Yahushua came with them to a place called Gethsemane, and said to the taught ones, sit here while I go over there and pray. And he took with him Kepha and the 2 sons of Zebedee, and he began to be grieved and deeply distressed. Then he said to them, my being is exceedingly grieved, even to death. Stay here and watch with me. And going forward a little, he fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet not as I desire, but as you desire. And he came to the taught ones and found them asleep, and said to Kepha, so were you not able to watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray, lest you enter into trial. The spirit indeed is eager, but the flesh is weak. Again he went away a second time, and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it is impossible for this to pass unless I drink it, let your desire be done. And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. And he left them, went away again, and prayed the 3rd time, saying the same words. Then he came to the taught ones and said to them, still sleeping and taking rest? See, the hour has come near, and the Son of Man is delivered up into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. See, he who delivers me up has come near. And while he was still speaking, see, Yehuda, or Judas, one of the 12, with a large crowd with swords and clubs, came from the chief priests and the elders of the people. And he who was delivering him up gave them a sign, saying, whomever I kiss, it is he. Seize him. And going straight up to Yahushua, he said, greetings, Rabbi, and kissed him. And Yahushua said to him, friend, why have you come? Then they came and laid hands on Yahushua and seized him. And look, one of those with Yahushua put out his hand and drew his sword And striking the servant of the high priest, he cut off his ear. Then Yahusha said to him, return your sword to its place, for all who take the sword shall die by the sword. So here we have it. These disciples were armed. They were carrying weapons. Isn't that interesting? Or do you think that I am not able to pray to my Father now, and he shall provide me with more than 12 legions of messengers? How then would the scriptures be filled that it has to be done this way? In that hour, Yahusha said to the crowd, have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs to arrest me? Daily I sat with you. So he knew these people, teaching in the synagogues, and you did not seize me. But all this came to be so that the scriptures of the prophets might be filled. Then all the taught ones left him and fled, and those who seized Yahusha led him away to Caiaphas the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were gathered together. But Caiaphas followed him at a distance to the courtyard of the high priest, and he went in and sat with the servants to see the end. And the chief priests and the elders and all the council were seeking false witness against Yahusha to put him to death, but found none. Although many false witnesses came forward, they found none. But at least 2 false witnesses came forward and said, this one said, I am able to destroy the dwelling place of Elohim. They're speaking about the temple, and build it in 3 days. And the high priest stood up and said to him, have you no answer to make? What do these witnesses against you? So let me go back to 61. It says, this one said, I am able to destroy the dwelling place of Elohim. So traditionally, and this is a thought that is prevalent today, that going into a building, the Creator is there. The Creator says, the Most High does not dwell in temples made by man's hands. Very important to understand that their thought is that the building represented the Creator. But the Creator is not in any man's building, any man-made building. No. The Creator of heaven and earth does not dwell in buildings. So I just want you to understand what is being said right here. But Yahusha remained silent. So the high priest said to him, I put you to oath by the living Elohim that you say to us, if you are the Mashiach, the son of Elohim, or the Messiah. Yahusha said to him, you have said it. Besides, I say to you, from now on you shall see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power, and commanding and coming on the clouds of heavens. Then the high priest tore his garments, saying, he blasphemed. Why do we need any more witnesses? See, now you have heard his blasphemy. What do you think? And the answering said, he is liable to death. Then they spat in his face and beat him, and others slapped him, saying, prophesy to us, Messiah. Who is he that struck you? And Caiaphas sat outside in the court, and his servant girl came to him, saying, and you were with Yahusha in Galilee. And he denied it before them all, saying, I do not know what you say. And as he was going out into the porch, another girl saw him and said to those there, and this one was with Yahusha of the Nazarene. But again he denied with an oath, I do not know the man. And after a while those who stood by came to him and said, Caiaphas, truly you are one of them too, for even your speech gives you away. Then he began to curse and to swear, saying, I do not know the man. And immediately a cock crowed, and Caiaphas remembered the word of Yahusha, who had said to him, before the cock crows, you shall deny me 3 times. and going out, he wept bitterly. So here we have the Messiah being prosecuted by the religious establishment, the high priest. So the high priest, Caiaphas, priest, Levite, obviously, because the Levites were the priest of Israel, a descendant of Aaron, Moses' brother. So we're looking from the whole history of the scripture, understanding the covenant, the old covenant, and what you're reading here. The Messiah being of Israelite stock from the tribe of Judah is being persecuted by his own people. And that's really how it actually works today. So let's jump to 27, chapter 27. We have one more chapter after this. So, and the morning having come, all the chief priests and the elders of the people took counsel against Yahusha, so as to put him to death. And having bound him, they led him away and delivered him up to Pontius Pilate, the governor. And Judas, he who delivered him, having seen that he had been condemned, repented, returned the 30 pieces of silver to the high priest and to the elders, saying, I have sinned in delivering up innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? You see to it. And throwing down the pieces of silver in the dwelling place, he left and went and hung himself. And the chief priests took the silver pieces and said, it is not right to put them into the treasury, seeing they are the price of blood. So they took counsel and bought with them the potter's field for a burial for strangers. Therefore that field has been called the field of blood until today. So they took the pieces of silver that they paid Judas, and they say, we're not going to put this back in the treasury because we have bought blood, innocent blood with this. So they bought a field to be used for the burial of strangers. Then was filled what was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, and they took 30 pieces of silver, the price of him who was pierced, on whom they of the children of Yasharel set a price, and gave them for a potter's field, as Yahuwah had ordered me. So you can find this in the book of Zechariah, chapter 11, verses 12 to 13. So this prophets had prophesied that this would happen to the Mashiach. Now, if these people were reading the Torah or the prophets accurately, they would know that the Messiah was who he said he was, but they were not. And that's when religion blinds individuals or groups. And Yahusha stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, are you the king of the Yahudims, or the Jews that is called here in the Hebrew word, the Yahudim? And Yahusha said to him, you say it. And as he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he answered not. So Pontius Pilate asked the Messiah, are you the king of the Yahudims? That is the Hebrew word for Jew. Okay? I want to be aware of context historically, not what you see in the movies. Verse 12, and as he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he answered not. And Pilate said to him, do you not hear how much they witness against you? And he did not answer him, not one word, so that the governor wondered much. And at the festival, the governor used to release to the crowd one prisoner who they wished. And they had then a well-known prisoner called Barabbas. So when they were assembled, Pilate said to them, whom do you wish I release to you, Barabbas or Yahusha, who is called Mashiach, Messiah? for he knew that because of envy they would deliver him up. And as he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent to him, saying, have none at all to do with this righteous man, for I have suffered much today in a dream because of him. And the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd that they should ask for Barabbas and to destroy Yahusha. And the governor answering said to them, which of the two do you wish I release to you? They said, Barabbas. Pilate said to them, what then shall I do with Yahusha, who is called Messiah? They all said to him, let him be impaled. And the governor said, indeed, what evil has he done? And they were crying out all the more, saying, let him be impaled. And when Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere, but rather an uproar was starting, he took water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this righteous one. You see to it. And all the people answering said, his blood be on us and our children. Big mistake. And our children. Then he released Barabbas to them, but having Yahusha whipped, he delivered him over to be impaled. Then the soldiers of the governor took Yahusha into the court and gathered the entire company of soldiers around him, and having stripped him, they put a scarlet robe on him, and plaiting a crown of thorns, they put it on his head, and a reed in his right hand. And they kneeled down before him and mocked him, saying, greetings, sovereign of the Yahudims. And spitting on him, they took the reed and struck him on his head. And when they had mocked him, they took the robe off him and put on his own garments on him, and led him away to be impaled. And as they were going out, they found a man of Cyrene, Shimon by name. They compelled him to bear his stake. And when they came to the place called Golgotha, that is to say, the place of a skull, they gave him wine mixed with bile to drink. And after tasting, he would not drink it. And having impaled him, they divided his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of by the prophets in the book of Tehillim, or Psalms, chapter 22, verses 18. They divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. And sitting down, they guarded him there, and they put up over his head the writing, 10 charge against him. This is Yahusha, the king of the Yahudim, or the Jew. Then 2 robbers were impaled with him, one on the right and another on the left. And those passing by were blaspheming, asking him, shaking their heads, and saying, you who destroy the dwelling place or the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the son of Elohim, come down from the stake. And likewise the chief priests with the scribes and elders mocking said, he saved others, he is unable to save himself. If he is the king of Yasharel, let him now come down from the stake, and we will believe him. He trusted in Elohim, let him rescue him now, if he desires him. For he said, I am the son of Elohim. And also the robbers who were impaled with him reviled him, saying the same. And from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour Yahusha cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is, my El, why have you forsaken me? So you see what the Messiah yelled out in the Hebrew tongue. Hey, good morning, Dane. Some of those standing there having heard said, this one calls Eliyahu, or Elijah. And immediately one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with sour wine and put it on a reed, and came to him and give it to him to drink. But the rest said, Leave it. Let us see Eliyahu comes and save him. And Yahusha cried out again with a loud voice and gave up his spirit. And see, the veil of the dwelling place was torn in two from the top to the bottom, and the earth was shaken, and the rocks were split, and the tombs were opened, and many bodies of the set-apart ones who had fallen asleep were raised. So people that were already dead when the Messiah died, they were resurrected. So this is what the scripture is telling us right here. Verse 53. And coming out of the tombs after his resurrection, they went into the set-apart city and appeared many. And when the captain of those with him who was guarding Yahusha saw the earthquake and all that took place, they feared exceedingly, saying, Truly, this was the Son of Elohim. And many women who followed Yahusha from Galilee attending him were there watching from a distance, among whom was Miriam from Magdala, and Miriam his mother, Jacob and Joseph, the mother of Zebedee's son. And when evening came, there came a rich man from Ramathaim, named Joseph, who himself had become a taught one of Yahusha. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Yahusha. Then Pilate commanded the body to be given. And having taken the body, Joseph wrapped it in clean linen, and laid it in his new tomb, which he had hewed out of the rock. And he rolled a large stone against the door of the tomb, and went away. And Miriam from Magdala was there, and the other Miriam sitting opposite the tomb. On the next day, which was after the preparation, of the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered together to Pilate, saying, Master, we remember while he was still alive, how the deceiver said, After 3 days I am raised. Command then that the tomb be safeguarded until the 3rd day, lest his taught ones come by night and steal him away, and should say to the people, He has raised from the dead. And the last deception shall be worse than the first. So Pilate said to them, You have a watch, go safeguard it as you know how. And they went and safeguarded the tomb, sealing the stone and setting the watch. So they had known that they had first-hand knowledge that the Messiah had promised that after 3 days he would rise again. So they did not want the taught ones to, or his disciples to, steal his body, because this is what they thought they would do. And they said the first deception would be worse than the last, because they thought that the Messiah was a deceiver of man. So even though they had the Torah, they had the writings of the prophets, these people were unbelievers. That's like many people today. Many people have access to these scriptures, but a lot of people don't actually believe what the book says. And that's not something strange. That's not uncommon. So we're going to jump into the last chapter of the book, or the writings of Mattityahu, chapter 28. But late in the Shabbat, so it's saying late in the Shabbat as it was dawning into day 1 of the week. So the Messiah, it says late in the Shabbat. So let's take a look at it. Sunset to sunset is where the Messiah was being, is the Shabbat, which is the 7th day of the week. So we're looking at what is actually being stated here. So the first day of the week, the Messiah is being visited by Miriam from Magdala, and the other Miriam that came to see him. So it's given us a timeline when the Messiah, because he rested on the Shabbat. Even through his death, he rested on the Shabbat. So he's even obedient in death. He's resting. Verse 2. And see, there was a great earthquake, and the messenger of Yahuwah came down out of heaven, and came and rolled back the stone from the door, and sat on it. And his appearance was like lightning, and his garment as white as snow. And the guards trembled for fear of him, and became like dead men. So they were laid out. And the messenger responding said to the woman, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Yahusha, who was impaled. He is not here, for he was raised, as he said. Come see the place where the master lay. And go quickly, say to his taught ones that he was raised from the dead. And see, he is going before you in Galilee. There you shall see him. See, I have told you." And they left the tomb quickly with fear and great joy, and ran to report to his taught ones. And as they were going to report to his taught ones, see, Yahusha met them, saying, "Greetings." And they came and held him by his feet and did bow to him. Then Yahusha said to them, "Do not be afraid." So this is always a saying in Scripture, if you look at it. Do not be afraid, or do not fear. When the supernatural meets the natural, the angels, all through the Old Testament, if you read the encounters when man had with the messengers, they always told them, do not fear, because fear is not from Yah. So never fear is something that the enemy will use against the majority of people. So fear cannot be in your being when it comes to things of Yahuwah. He says here again, "Do not be afraid. Go report to my brothers to go to Galilee, and they shall see me there." And while they were going, see, some of the watch, having gone into the city, reported to the chief priests all that took place. And when they had come together with the elders and taken counsel, they gave enough silver to the soldiers, saying, "Say that the taught ones came at night, and stole him away while you slept." So the chief priests are telling the guards, so say that we're going to pay you some money. Don't tell anyone what actually happened, but say that the disciples came and stole his body while you slept. And if this should be reported to the governor, we shall win him over and keep you out of trouble. And having taken the silver, they did as they were instructed. And this account was widely spread among the Yahudim to this day. So they spread this rumor that the disciples stole his body. He wasn't really resurrected. So it's up to this day. And people normally say that in different religious denominations or different religious thoughts. The Muslims have a belief about this event. Also the Jewish people, in their Talmudic belief, they have a opinion of this resurrection as well. And the 11 taught ones went away into Galilee to the mountain which Yahusha had appointed for them. And when they saw him, they bowed to him, but some doubted. And Yahusha came up and spoke to them, saying, "All authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Therefore go and make taught ones of all nations. Go and make disciples of all nations, immersing them in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, and in the set-apart Spirit." So notice what he says here. Very important that we understand what is being said. He said, immerse them in the name of the Father. What is the name of the Father? It's not God, and it's not the Lord. In the name of the Son name isn't Jesus, Iessus, or the transliteration we have today called Jesus, because the Son's name, the Son came in the Father's name. So if you don't know the Father's name, because the Father does have a name. Very important when you read the scripture, you read for understanding and clarity. Verse 20, teaching them to guard all things I have commanded you. So the Messiah is telling his disciples to make disciples. replicate yourselves, and teach them to guard all things that he commands. Very simple, very powerful. However, most people are not aware that there are commands that the Messiah kept or guarded to do that most people are not aware that they should do. Like number 3, in the commands that the Most High told those that are following him is to not take the name of the Father in vain, the name of Yahuwah, your Elohim. He told ancient Israel, do not take the name of Yahuwah, your Elohim, in vain, make it nothing. So we know there's a total different thought regarding what Scripture actually says. So here's what it says here. In Revelation chapter 22, verses 14, it says, blessed are those doing his commands, so that the authority shall be theirs unto the tree of life, and to enter through the gates of the city. So it says, blessed are those that do his commands. Let's take a look at another one. Chapter 14, the same book of Revelation, it says, verses 12, here is the endurance or the patience of the set-apart ones or the saints. Here are those guarding the commands of Elohim and the belief of Yahusha. So this is very different group to the vast majority of people that actually read the scriptures. It says here is the patience of the saints or the set apart ones. Set apart means holy. Holy means Kodesh in Hebrew, set apart. So the set apart ones would not be people that are a part of a religion. Notice what it says here. They are those that guard the commands of Elohim and keep the belief of the Messiah, Yahusha. Here's another one. Revelation chapter 12 from verses 17. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to fight with the remnant of her seed. Who is the remnant of her seed? Those guarding the commands of Elohim and possessing the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, the Messiah. So this is a totally different group of people than the majority that have a belief and read the scripture. Not everyone guards the command of Yahuwah Elohim that you read in the scripture, but they believe in God or the Lord. This is what they say. Very different. This hits different. So you have to now examine yourself and ask yourself, because someone told me this recently, don't be legalistic. Because they actually believe that believing in someone who they've never seen but living outside of his instructions, and that's the broad way of thinking. This is why the Messiah says, many will say to him in that day, Master, Master, have we not done many good works in your name? Have we not prophesied? Have we not cast out devils in your name? And he said, I never knew you. You who work lawlessness. Lawlessness or iniquity means lawless. So Christianity promotes lawlessness. Over the past several weeks, you would see, where I live, you would see buildings that call themselves the church with Easter parades and Easter bunny egg hunts and whatnot. but they claim to be serving God. Well, they are serving God, but not the Elohim of the scriptures, the God of this world. Because no one reading this book would come to the conclusion that bunnies and eggs should be something that they should be participating. If you're living in the 21st century, it's very easy to look up something. Where does these things come from? How does a bunny and eggs associate with the Messiah of the scripture? Christianity is a different religion. It's not synonymous with the scripture. Hence the reason when I speak to people, they're confused with my language and the words that I use. I say everything is in the scripture. And that comes from not reading the scripture in totality. They have not read all of Genesis, all of the book of Numbers, Leviticus, Deuteronomy. They have not read these books. Have not. If you ask them, I've did the survey. How many people have read from book upon book, all straight through? Most have not. Even though some tell me that they have, when I ask them certain questions, who are the Gentiles today? They tell me they are the Gentiles. People don't understand that what these words mean something. They don't know the Gentile nation that the Messiah talks about. He said they will be trodden down Jerusalem until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. This actually means that the other nations, specifically of European ancestry, because the Europeans, those of European descent, they are the ones that control the world system, the banking system, the movie industry, whatever you see on the screen, you read in media. Gentiles are the ones that control the narrative. And Gentiles are the ones that live in what supposedly they call the Holy Land today. Descendants of Japheth. So when you read the scripture, understand that you are a part of a nation. You're not a race. There's nothing called race. That's a white supremacist vernacular that created a racial hierarchy based on your skin color or their lack of skin color. So we just ended the reading of the apostle Matthew or Mattityahu. Those of you who are live here, I appreciate you coming out, stopping in. Those of you who watch the recording, if you have any questions, and anytime you have any doubt of what you hear in here, feel free to reach out. It's no problem at all. I don't expect you to believe everything I say. That would be crazy without testing. Test everything that I say. But one thing I do know, that history is well documented on who the Yahudims are. This book here was written in 1910. This is not a new book. And it tells you the history of a people who are told they have no history. They're just, black people. That's what they're told. So with that, Elohim willing, we'll start a new topic next Saturday. I'm going to start with understanding Christianity. I'm going to bring out again, I did this some time ago, but I need to bring it anew as far as those who have not an understanding of the history of the religion and what they are a part of and what you should be waiting on in the last days. Now, if you ask different people, what are you waiting on? Some people are waiting to be raptured, to be disappeared, during the tribulation. That's what they are told. But because most people have not read the entirety of the prophets are actually neglected, except for Malachi chapter 3 verse 10, when they tell you to bring all the tithes into the storehouse. These are preachers who are not Levites. They tell you bring all the tithes into the storehouse. That's the only time they actually read the prophet. That's their favorite. Malachi is their favorite prophet. The other prophets, they don't have much use for them. But Malachi, yeah, they have a lot of use for Malachi. So we're going to start taking a look at the early church fathers. Again, those who started the religion of Christianity, and then test the religion, test your knowledge and your walk personally, because you can't blame your pastor or your priest if you're waiting for these men to expound on the truth, because they are not walking in truth according to Scripture. They're walking according to the traditions and doctrines of men. So we're going to look into these early church fathers, their belief, and how they have shaped for centuries the minds of the majority of people. So Elohim willing, we'll see you next week. Shalom.